Rev up your engine. Okay, today we're going to talk about the Chevy Colorado. The guy bought it brand new. He's got 167,000 miles on it. But he's worried about one thing. And as you can see, the temperature gauge is warning him it's in the red. But then it's telling, warning it's overheating. It goes right back down. Now I took it to mechanics. One guy just charged him $200 to tell him there's nothing wrong. GM says, well, they get air in the system and it causes problems like that. Now 10 months ago, he had the thermostat changed. It's a thermostat built into a housing. It's a pain in the butt. It's a 3.5-hour job. And strangely enough, the people who did the job told him that he has 2 thermostats in this vehicle. It does not have 2 thermostats. Now, some of the diesels have 2 thermostats, but this is a gasoline engine, and we know it's a gasoline engine because that's what he fills it up with, and he's been driving it all these years, right? Well, after they changed the thermostat, for a couple of months, he didn't have any problems. But then, all of a sudden, eventually, at the red, and then pop right back down. Odds are it has an extremely cheap thermostat because the guys put it in. It went away for 2 months. And then it probably broke. Realize it's an assembly. You can see this picture here. It's a whole assembly, and it's a 3.5-hour labor job. It's a pain in the butt. And a lot of guys will go to discount auto parts stores, and they'll buy this cheap Chinese crap, and it won't last long. Now, interestingly enough, 2 weeks ago, it's getting cold here now, he had no heat for about 10 minutes. It went up to the hot again, and then it came back down. Now, that is just the classic symptoms of a bad thermostat. But the thermostat is supposed to remain shut when you start a cold car. The hot water stays in the engine warms up faster, hot water goes to the heater and makes it hot. So it shows that, in the beginning, the stupid thing was staying open, and it wasn't getting any heat because it's so cold outside, the hot water didn't get hot enough to make heat. But then it decided to shut itself. And then it got too hot, but then it opened again and stuck open. Now we're going to run it to see if it'll do anything here. Now, it's like a lot of GM products. When we start it up, it goes to the hot and then goes down. That's just what these things do. They're kind of squirrely when they go. Now it's staying in the middle, so we hope that at some point in time, it's going to get hotter and we can analyze things a bit further. But while we're waiting, we've already learned one thing. A lot of mechanics are either liars or fools or a combination of the two, because they told him he had 2 thermostats and he doesn't. They obviously changed it at one point in time. That's got to be a fact, because after they put it in for 2 months, he didn't have any problems, right? I'm just thinking it's a cheap thermostat, probably made in China, and the stupid thing will stick and not stick, stick and not stick. And since you can't take the thermostat out because it's part of the housing, you can't really do an experiment that I used to do all the time. And that's this. Back in the day, if a car would have weird overheating problems, we would just take the thermostat out, especially in the summer in Texas where it's hot. And if it never overheated anymore, you'd know, well, the problem is with the thermostat. And back in the day, we'd just leave them out. And in the winter, you'd put it back in so you could get heat. Now, you can't do that with modern cars because modern cars use the thermostat to regulate the fuel injection system. If you took a thermostat out, it would run too cool and you would get warning. Your check engine light would come on. You couldn't get your car inspected because it would say engine running too cool. You can't do it with a modern car. But back in the day when it was simply, we just take the stupid things out. On this particular engine, see that hose there? That's the hose. Goes up. It comes off the block on the side here. You can see the air conditioner pulley spinning. It's right above there. Of course, all this plastic crap is in the way, but you can't take it off of the car running because it's part of the intake system. Well, of course, it's not acting up now, but I'll just take some readings just to see what's normal here. Now, we'll take a reading here of the upper radiator hose, and you can see it's like 145 or so. And that in itself is a little bit too cold. It should be hotter than that because you drove a long way to get it. That's the laser pointing out. It's only 58 degrees down there. Now it went all the way up to 50, 61, 63, 62. So that was the easiest thing I ever figured out. Other than when a guy brought me a car and he said my car smells of gas, and I opened the flap and there's no gas cap on it. He left at the gas station. The thermostat presently is stuck open. That's so cold because it's just flowing too much. It should be running at, say, 180, 190. Well, the 150 it's not going to hurt anything, but the 60, it's just too cold. the thermostat is stuck open. Now, he's a really nice guy because he's going to sell it to his neighbor. His neighbor buys his cars as he buys new cars, and he doesn't want to sell him one with a bad engine. So he's worried that maybe when it was stuck shut and it got hot, it damaged the engine. So we're getting our leak detector fluid out here. And as you see, we pour a little bit in here, up to the line. Then we stick the little plastic top on. And we stick the bulb in. See, now it sucks it. We're going to run the car, start it up, and we pump it every once in a while to suck the air out of here. If it stays blue, that's good news. It tests for carbon dioxide. When you burn gas in Earth's atmosphere, one of the things comes out your tailpipe is carbon dioxide. And the carbon dioxide is only supposed to come out the tailpipe. If it's getting into the radiator, it means that the head gasket's blown or there's a crack in the head of the block. So we'll watch it for a while, and if it stays blue, there's no problem at all, and he can sell it to his neighbor, and the neighbor can just go to the Chevy dealer and buy the correct thermostat assembly. Yes, it's expensive, and the ones at the discount auto parts are cheaper, but the cheap ones don't last very long. This one only lasted 2 months. As you can see, it's still blue as can be, so there's nothing wrong. So he can happily give it to his neighbor and not worry that it's going to blow the engine up. We'll look at it overall anyways to see what shape it's in. He's the original owner, 160-something thousand miles. Now, how does he feel about this? He says it's been extremely reliable. 160-something thousand miles. It doesn't burn any oil. Of course, he's not pulling heavy weights. It's just a 4-cylinder engine, right? But it doesn't burn any oil, and it only stranded him once, where it died, and he diagnosed the ignition switch. You know, GM had all those problems with their ignition switches going out. They replaced the ignition switch, and that fixed the problem. So for him, it's been a really reliable vehicle. And the only stinker about this is the guy put a cheap thermostat in, and now he was worried the engine was going out. It's not going out. It's just that the thermostat is sometimes sticking open, like it is now, and sometimes sticking closed. That's why sometimes he has heat, sometimes he doesn't have heat. Sometimes it goes to the hot, and then it drops back down. When it goes to the hot, and then you saw in this video, it's not doing it now, but you saw in this video how it was hot for like 15 seconds, and then it went back to normal. That was the thermostat sticking shut, and then it popped itself open again, which often will happen because it'll start building up pressure, and guess what the pressure does? It opens up the thermostat. I mean, hey, it's a northern car. It's still in pretty good shape. And you know it's not going to act up for me, of course. It's still running normal here, right? It's a cold day anyways, but hey, it's held up pretty good. He's got some pizza stains from a pizza place in Tennessee. Or he went to college, I guess. Everything's still solid and pretty good shape. Now, he doesn't like the backup camera because he says it's too bright. You can see it is kind of flared and blurred out. At night, he has to kind of cover it up with something because it blinds him, but hey, it still works. So it's cool, so it's got a real parking brake. Let's take it for a little spin. For a 4-cylinder with 166,000 miles, still idles real smooth. Can't argue about that. Now, of course, this is not a racing vehicle. Got a little bitty 4-cylinder engine, but he doesn't tow stuff with it. He doesn't plow snow with it, and he's been happy with it. Hey, there's 166,808 miles. He put them all on. He bought it new. Now, we'll make sure there's enough room when we go out because, like I say, it's not a racing truck. Okay, the left side will be clear in a second, but the right side isn't. We'll floor it. Still shifts quite well. Hey, I can't complain about the shifting. Not racing, but I mean, it's not slow, pulling heavy loads and stuff, but it certainly has been able to pull itself quite some time, 166,000 miles. Only stranded them once when the ignition switch broke. Do a little turnaround when everybody gets out of the way. Here we go. Hey, it's a nice driving truck. He's been happy with it. Not a big Chevy fan myself, but if you wanted a knock-around truck, he's going to be sending it over to his neighbor now. Just tell him to put a thermostat in it. The engine doesn't clatter, no wheel bearing sound. Things hold up pretty well. Now, this guy does take care of his vehicles. So, I gotta say, I'm pleasantly surprised by this thing. Now, you might think, hey, it's only a 4-cylinder engine. It's got 166,000 miles on it. But it doesn't burn any oil, and it's still running quite well. Why I don't say and that's because it is not turbocharged. You get in a new one that's got a turbocharger. I just read the article yesterday about a guy who bought a Silverado with the 4-cylinder turbo, and the engine blew up at 675,000 miles. And they said, well, 2 of your cylinders are gone now, and we're not going to give you another truck, or we're going to fix it. The guy was mad as could be. I wouldn't blame him. I would never touch one of those 4-cylinder turbos with a 10-foot pole. But this is normally aspirated. It doesn't have a turbo. You take care of it. You don't pull big, heavy loads. Look, this thing has lasted. And it lives in New York State, the land of rust and horrible potholes, right? He's going to sell it to his neighbor, and like he just told me, I like helping out young people and people that need a good vehicle by selling my good used ones. And my crappy vehicles, he says I get rid of them. I don't sell them to my neighbors. So he's going to sell this to his neighbors with a clear conscience. All it needs is a thermostat. That's it. It's working right now, but it can stick at any particular period of time. You don't want to overheat the engine. Luckily, it only did that H for a short period of time. If you see it's on and all of a sudden it drops and stays there, okay, it's opened up, right? When I was a kid, my Opel did that. It just was made that way. You'd start it up and it went almost all the way to H, and then it dropped to the middle and stayed there the whole time. It's just the way that cooling system worked. But this one shouldn't do that. It just needs a new OEM thermostat. Stay away from the cheap Chinese stuff. And you find a used truck like this, hey, it could be a great knock-around truck. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.